Good morning and welcome to episode 3 of the Wake Up Call with me, Sian Marie. I've just watched episode 3 and I've got a very special guest here. He's from the Circle and he's called Dan and he had a little pet turtle. Hi Dan. So for anyone who hadn't watched the Circle, let's just give a little brief description of what it was.
Okay, so basically it's a reality TV show where the most popular player wins. And you communicate via a social media platform called The Circle, but you never physically meet your other contestants.
And you can be whoever you want to be in it.
You can be whoever you want to be. You can be a catfish. You can be older if you're younger. You can be younger if you're older. You can be a man, woman.
I honestly love The Circle, but we'll go into that in more detail, catfish and all that kind of shit. So we just watched episode 3. We had the toy task. What did you think of the toys?
I felt like they were boring. They were like, one of the toys you could argue is half decent, the turtle one, obviously.
Yeah. You think that was half decent?
Yeah, from the perspective of being a toy for a child, like a proper child.
But it was a 6 to 8 year old.
Yeah, so in the context of the task, it was absolutely atrocious toy. Like, there's no 6 to 8 year old that's going to pick that up and be like, oh my God, I want to play with this all day. Like, at best, they'll probably just press the button while they're walking around the supermarket with them. They're not going to want to play with that. No. It's not engaging.
No. And I think the unicorn one, like it was the best of a bad bunch, really. I don't think it was great, but I think it was a bit more.
Well, it was closer to the task.
It was right, yeah.
What they asked,
bill, it
but
fit the bill.
At the same time, I would argue that one's probably a little bit for younger kids as well. It's a flipping unicorn with a bit of.
I was
gunge.
more at first thinking, who is it aimed at? As in, it's a unicorn, but then it's gunge.
It's boys and girls.
And I get that it's probably just for anyone, but I don't know.
Boys aren't going to see that and be like, oh my God, a unicorn.
I need that. That's what I mean.
And they're going to be putting the slime.
And it had like a drop of slime.
Yeah, like what?
I'm not sure.
That's not going to sway the boys to be like, oh my God, I wasn't going to play with the unicorn, but there's slime, so.
Yeah. So we had the girls team and boys team were mixed up this time, and we had the names. So we had, was it Unison and Empower?
Empower. I like the thing that Lottie gave.
You didn't.
I'm joking. I like it from the perspective of it being funny. I thought it was a terrible name. She's saying it should name it after a missile or something. I thought that's hilarious.
Crazy. It's always interesting when they mix up the boys and the girls teams because you get to see how they interact with the other
each
sex.
Other, yeah.
And I think it was apparent that like Lottie was different in this episode.
Definitely. I feel like she clearly takes instruction better from men than she does women. She was maybe it's a little bit unfair for me to say, but clearly in comparison to how she's been in the previous episodes, she wasn't argumentative. She was still very vocal, but whenever someone was like, I'm talking now, she was like, oh, okay. Like especially if it was a man, like she just wasn't.
It's true. Whereas the last two have seen her being a bit more like.
Pretty much getting into arguments every single time.
Yeah. So when we were picking the teams, we had the sub teams, we had the project managers. Pamela said that Lewis couldn't be sub team leader.
Oh, because he was a man.
Yeah. I was like, did we miss a clip of them having a conversation about it had to be a girl?
But I thought that was funny because then she kind of did back it up with her. Her reasoning was still kind of off, but I thought it was funny because she was like, oh, well, the boys keep losing and you're a boy, so. That's fair enough.
But the thing is, I kind of like Pamela. There's no one offended me in this episode, if I'm honest. There were no one like kicking off, no drama.
Yeah.
But I think Scarlett and Pamela, for me, I felt like they were quite strong. She was very much saying that she didn't think it was right for the target market the whole way through.
Honestly, I didn't actually know she was the project manager until the end, and I wasn't really sure. Because you're right, she was vocal the whole way through.
Power to change
but she didn't ever really say anything. She was just kind of like in the back saying, oh, I don't like that. And like, well, you're the boss.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange.
And then we've got Tom. Tom's always talked about on the podcast because I love him. But this time round... I mean, I still love him.
He was enthusiastic about it. I love him too. He's just one of those lovable characters. Like, he's just proper like...
I just loved when he started doing the voices and it were like a proper Cockney voice and they were like, do we need to make it a bit more like a kid's voice?
I thought it was hilarious that even in the boardroom when literally Lord Sugar is like, this is not a good toy. He's like, yeah, but it's a really good toy. And it's like, no, it's not.
Stand by it. He's like still selling it and people are like, it's shit, we don't like it. Let's be real, it was, I mean, I don't want to offend you with the whole turtle thing, but...
It was a shit toy.
It was. Yeah. And it had a glove.
He's like, you put it on your hand, why does that make it better? It's
best when they go to the actual kids, and the kids are like, this is basically saying this is a shit toy. I won't play with it.
Sorry, jokes.
It is. But I thought it was always going to be a comical episode because as soon as you're bringing it acting in or like the dancing.
The videos were absolutely hilarious.
I just have both of those videos were bad.
But at least one of them told some kind of story.
Yeah.
Like they've tried to give some sort of narrative to the toy.
Yeah.
Even if the toy wasn't featured. But the other group just made a music video.
The worst music video in the world with the worst dancing.
Yeah,
I don't
literally.
get it.
They were like, hopefully we'll just make a video and dress up and then it'll go viral. No.
The best is how they approached it as, this is our viral video.
Yeah.
That has not gone viral.
That's not going nowhere.
That is not going
That's
viral.
getting buried.
It's just hilarious. But I like the fact that they all kind of got stuck in. And so when we had tasks like that, I'm not like, I don't want to embarrass myself.
Yeah.
But you was almost forced into it.
Yeah, you have to, man. You have to especially if you've got to appreciate it's a show still as well.
Yeah.
And you got to participate. Do you know what I mean? You got to, like you said, you got to get stuck in.
I mean, we did a comic.
Yeah.
And as part of the comic, we made a rapping MC, like, it was for kids.
Well, like,
same kind of task.
Like an MC, like
an
a
MC
rap.
comic, and it was French, I think. It was called MC Go-Go, and we literally made this rap up. It was the worst rap in the world. We won it, and we didn't do too bad. It was better than this crap.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Better than this crap.
Bar's pretty low.
Pretty low, yeah. It's pretty low, to be fair. One of my favourite lines has got to be Aisha in the boardroom when Lodger was given a prop saying, oh, you know, apparently you did really well in the chats and stuff, and she was like, yeah, well, I'm basically really good at winging it.
Yeah,
like,
that was brilliant. At least she was honest. At least she was. Most of the other people would have been talked it up and be like, oh yeah, I was. She was just like, yeah, I'm good at winging it.
And I think 90% of what you do on The Apprentice is kind of winging it, because you have such small time frames, and like sometimes you don't even have the answer. You just have to make it up off the top of your head.
Yeah, so. I suppose you're a business development manager, for example, and you'll put in a task where you've got to make a toy. It's like so completely out of your expertise that you have to wing it to a degree where you can't research
and there's
it,
never really a task that you could say, this is 100% my task, because there's always bits in it that you're like...
Well, apart from last week where they had to make ice cream.
Well, ice lollies.
Ice lollies, and he was literally, that was literally his job.
And he messed the whole thing up.
Absolutely destroyed it.
I did definitely enjoy this task more than last week's though.
I preferred the other. I feel like I was frustrated because of this one, because I felt like straight from the off, they were both just such horrible toys. I wanted them to be good.
What would you have done? What would
I would
you
have done a watch or something to do with technology, something a bit cool, because like they said, 8-year-olds want to be older. So if you give them like a watch and pretend it's a smartwatch and I don't know, put a screen on it.
Or a fake mobile or something.
Fake mobile phone, fake tablet. That would be more cool, because they're like, oh yeah, it's like an iPhone, whatever. Yeah. It just makes them feel... But
then I guess there's probably limitations to what they could have... Do you know what I mean? There would have been some kind of limitations. Definitely. But the thing is, normally I'd be like, well, they did a good job with what they had. They were both pretty shocking. So I don't think they did very well at all. So we get to the boardroom. Lord Sugar watches the video, sees the toys, and we find out who lost, which I think was fair. I think the right team lost, if that's the right answer.
The best team won.
The best team won.
Yeah, it's not the right team lost.
Why in this instance, the right team lost because we were both crap?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. But no, I agree with you. I think
the tortoise topped it as the worst for me.
Yeah, just because it was, like you said, there was a brief. The brief is make a toy, that's number 1, and 2, for the age group of, what was it, 6 to 8.
And they made a toy
for like a 3-year-old. Like, you completely missed it. Like,
it is true. So we had Ryan as the project manager. Mm-hmm. He brought back Lottie and Solomon, which, can I just say, I was shocked that he brought Lottie back.
Yes.
In a way, I was shocked, because I felt like Tom's a lovely guy, but he did have a big impact on this toy.
The biggest of anyone, yeah.
So I'm thinking, was it tactical why he didn't bring Tom back? Because he probably thought, Tom's done quite well so far, he's likeable, he's likely to stay.
I think that as well, to be fair. I think in his thinking in bringing Lottie back instead of Tommy was exactly that. But
then Lottie's been feisty, so I wouldn't have brought Lottie back either.
Yeah, but I feel like she's been feisty enough times where it's got her a negative stigma.
That's true.
That it could. So if he was going against, if he's trying to protect himself as much as possible, I feel like she was a fairly safe bet because Lord Sugar might have got a bit annoyed with her by this point and been like, listen, you keep coming in. Yeah,
I've had enough. I do think that, and with Solomon, I kind of, it was annoying me a bit because I understood what he was saying and he was pretty much right with everything
every single time.
Everything. But it's all about the execution in them tasks, and he came across like he was just being negative the whole time, whereas what he was saying was right, but the whole team would just be like, look, we had this product, we had to sell it, and you approached it wrong. So I actually didn't want Solomon to go. I don't think he deserved to go.
I knew he would though.
Did you think?
100%. As soon as I saw the 3 candidates in that boardroom, I was like, Solomon's gone.
Why?
Because he just hasn't brought, in the other tasks that have gone, I don't feel like he's had enough of a contribution to now fail again and still have, your only contribution is that you just would like said everything was shit. Like that's not a great contribution.
I think Ryan was more at risk because
But he's strong, he's a strong character.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess so, but I think he was, as project manager, he had the power to change whatever he wanted to and to make the decisions. And I'm not saying that Solomon couldn't, but he did voice his opinion and no one listened to him. So I felt like...
But then that's your thing as well. Like, you can't come on The Apprentice and have your voice not listened to. That means you're like, why are you even here? True, if you can't get your team to listen to you...
leave Solomon alone. Anyway, he's gone now. We'll move on. From that episode, was there anyone... I don't think there was for me, but is there anyone who stood out as really good?
As a rising
front
star?
runner,
Front runner. At this early stage? No. Do you know what? I think that's because I like him and I want to like him, but I don't think Tommy's really got what it takes. I like him and he's probably my favourite, to be honest, but I just think he's just, whatever he lacks in like actual acumen, he makes up for in enthusiasm. Yeah. But
when it comes down to it...
It's just not there.
I think there's a few people who we're starting to see a little bit more of, like, I think Scarlett is every week. We've seen a bit more of her, and I think she could be promising.
Yeah.
Because I feel like every task, she's had a little bit of input, but it's always been quite relevant and quite on point. I'm still wanting to see more from Marianne. I'm still not sure. I don't know if she said anything in this episode. The last 2, she hasn't said much.
I don't think so.
But she might start coming out. But yeah, I don't think... This task was a funny one. I don't think there was anyone who was like, bam, wow, they're amazing. Or,
I think that's probably the best you can do in the first few episodes.
Keep quiet.
Yeah, just fly under the radar for a little bit.
And then the next couple should be like, bam, I'm here. So Apprentice chat done, covered that off. Let's talk about you, the circle, your experience of reality TV, I guess.
Yeah.
How did you find the circle?
I found it really interesting. It's definitely a positive in my life. And it's weird because I feel like, I remember, and someone quoted this to me not long ago, and I remember before I went on the show, I think that I was being asked a lot, why are you going on the show, why are you going on the show? You know how they do when you go on reality TV. And I remember my reasoning was, they keep making stupid people famous. That was it. That was my reasoning.
And now you're
I was like,
I
was like, you make all these other stupid people famous, why not me?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that was literally didn't really go much beyond that.
It's kind of, and the Apprentice is worse because you go on there and people just rip you apart, and it's like, these are the best business people they could pick, but you're not an idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To get that, I feel like that because because I don't know the process of how they select people, but I do, especially early on, watch it and I think, this person seems a little bit like not sharp.
Yeah.
Like, how have you got here, period?
How did this happen?
But you obviously can't be terrible because there's obviously thousands of people that apply. For you to even get this far, you've got to have something
exactly.
about you.
And living in a house with everybody and getting to know everyone is hard, but you actually realise that everyone that's in there, as much as some you might not get on with, some are a bit dramatic.
They're good at what they do.
They're all respectable people.
In their own right,
and it's hard to watch back and to see them getting slated and you think, they're actually quite like they're nice people.
Yeah.
Everybody on reality TV is still a normal person.
I think people forget that massively. I put out a tweet maybe yesterday or the day before, and it was about one of the players that's on the current show.
Yes, we'll talk about that because I'm addicted. I love it.
It's Sammy. So James, who's playing Sammy on the show.
Yeah, so James is a guy, and he's playing Sammy, who's a girl with a baby.
With a baby, which is like, ooh.
Keeps getting in situations, and he's like, oh, I feel really bad, but everybody loves
doesn't
her,
feel that bad.
him.
But someone said something really, it wasn't really horrible, but it was something to do with his character. It was like something, he's really manipulative or such and such as a person. And I was like, hang on a second, you don't actually know him as a person.
Yeah.
I know you can forget that you don't actually know these people because you watch them every day.
Yeah.
But you don't know them.
Exactly.
You know them in the context of this game, but that's it.
And that's what's really difficult about any kind of TV show. And for me more now, I know we're doing a podcast, we're talking about the show, but I'm talking about it as a viewer now.
Yeah.
But in the grander scheme of things, I have respect for every single one of the candidates on the
100%.
show, everyone on the circle, any TV show, even Love Islanders.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you go in on a show to try and better yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And
which most people would take the opportunity to do.
Exactly. If you put any of the trolls on Twitter in that position, they'd be like, yeah, I'll go on Love Island.
Of course.
Yeah, I'll go on. But they'll sit on Twitter and slag everyone to pieces
and bash people. And I don't really get the sort of the context, the concept behind that, because one, like you said, they'd go on it themselves.
Yeah.
And two, if they were genuinely in the position on the show and someone else was bashing them, I'm sure they wouldn't like it. They wouldn't feel great about it. And
it's nuts.
It's just really, really strange.
It is a crazy situation. I guess with the show then, because you obviously went on the circle as yourself, and I think in your series, I was like actually addicted to that series. I watched it every night. Me and my boyfriend was like, oh my God, loved it. Because it was quite new and it was different, and you didn't know what was going to happen. A lot of your season, I felt, were just themselves. You had obviously...
Yeah, there's a few catfishes.
Your Kate and your Alex.
And Mairead, if you remember.
I remember Mairead.
The old lady who
So Mairead was the old lady.
Sorry, Mairead, to call you an old lady. You're not an old lady, I'm sorry.
She
was older than me.
So Mairead was an older, what was she, like 40 odd?
No, she's like 56, I believe, 57.
Oh, wow, okay, 57. She was a 57-year-old woman. She went in as a young, hot, flirty girl. Yeah. You had some serious flirting sessions, I remember. I'm just thinking back now.
Very cringe.
It was.
And they used the most cringiest moment of my entire life on Gogglebox as well. And I was like, why are you doing me like that?
How did you find, your friends watching it back? Like, did they, when you came out, were they just like ripping you apart?
No, the funniest thing is, I think I was fortunate that was not my Hail Mary. That was not you didn't go in, have that. And then get kicked out, because that would have been atrocious, because that would have been me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But when I get stopped on the street or when I have conversations with friends, that doesn't ever get mentioned.
I guess they probably would put themselves in your position and say, I would have been the same.
And ultimately, people won't remember, but I genuinely, every single time I flirted, I was like, one, I don't want to do this. Two, this is cringy. Three, she's being so much. And I think people forget that I genuinely kicked her out myself. I was the one who kicked her out. I kicked her out that day as well. So I wasn't, people were like, oh my God. I was like, no, I wasn't. I was doing it because she had a vote and she voted well as a result. And then I didn't like her, so I kicked her out.
So do you reckon if you was to go back in the circle, would you still do the same that you did before?
No, I think...
Would you catfish?
In real life, maybe, but I think I wouldn't be able to actually. If I went in there, I think people would want the element of me being a bit different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this year is definitely different because of that, because I think everyone's gone in there with these crazy...
With a game plan but with the first one, we were all so fresh to it, and what we got all the time was, oh, you knew what you signed up to, you knew, and we were like...
Not really.
Not really. I mean, we did know, of course, but
it was a brand new show. You know what I mean?
How much can you know?
This time round, they kind of know what's going on, but I think as a viewer this time round, it's a little bit harder to follow because you've got so many storylines, so many people who are guys that are girls, and like your season had some strong candidates and people in it the whole way through. Yeah. Whereas this time I've missed a few episodes and I've been a bit like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Yeah. As long as Tim's still in, I'm happy.
That's right.
That's the only reason. Honestly, Tim is my boy. I love him.
100%. Probably from the first moment I saw him, I was like, I love this.
I saw him and I thought, I'm gonna like him.
Yeah.
And he reminds me of Robin Williams.
Yeah. Apparently that's his part-time job sometimes.
No way.
I don't know how true that. Yeah. Because he did the little voice and stuff.
Yeah, I love him. I think characters like that are what they need because they're the ones that pull people in. I'm watching it just because he's in it.
100%. And I do like a lot of the other characters, but for me, Yeah, same. Like, I absolutely love him. He's such a cool guy.
He's ace. So when you were in it, it's kind of strange because you're in a bit of a secluded situation, although you get to talk to people.
Yeah.
Do you talk to them all the time, or is there
All
breaks?
the time. So there's a lot that's not featured, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think Alex, who actually won the circle, did a recent YouTube video about it, about some of it. But one thing you've got to remember is that there's potentially up to 8 people in there. I think in this season there's maybe 9 at some point. And we film 24 hours a day. So there's 24.
Oh, literally?
20, yeah, pretty much. Well, yeah, the cameras are always on, so yeah.
Even when you're asleep?
Of course, yeah. And Alex said they're not on when you go to the toilet.
They are.
I mean,
they're on when you're in the bath. I just remember
on,
you were in the bath with your face mask on pretty much every
so
episode.
So it's on, but they turn the cameras. But the cameras are on, so you're on.
It's literally 24/7.
Yeah, but then there's 9 people with 24-hour footage. So that's 24 times 9.
Yeah.
And then from an edit, like, that's ridiculous.
Which it's not that much in The Apprentice, but it kind of is, because you do get filmed in the house.
Yeah.
And there's 16 of us to begin with. So the back end of it is crazy to say. For us, it's 1 hour a week.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
So you watch it and you're like, that we didn't even get
They've got to compress 8 people having potentially 24-hour conversations, compress it into 1 hour of a show.
So, and that's what's even more interesting is you watch it and you see the conversations, but there's so many conversations that have happened.
That you don't necessarily...
Yeah.
They'll try and give you a little bit of a snippet, especially if it's an important friendship-building conversation, etc. But, of course, you can't really get the full context of how close you become with these people.
Yeah.
To the point where every single one of the other 3 people I went in the process with are still very close friends of mine.
Yeah.
I spoke to all of them today.
And that's what is even crazier, right? Because you had, so the biggest part of your season was Alex.
Yeah.
So for people who didn't watch it, Alex was in the series as his girlfriend, Kate.
Yeah.
Alex was a guy, he went in as his girlfriend.
Yeah.
He catfished you the whole time.
From day one
so
to the
you
last.
and Kate besties the whole time,
Yeah.
formed this really close relationship. We're all watching it knowing he's actually a guy.
Yeah.
Then there were little bits of flirting and little bits of kind of feelings.
Yeah.
And then was it the final where you went for a meal or you did something?
Yeah.
Was that when you first met him?
Yeah. That was the finale. That was
just
the
remember
live final day.
that was that was what I'd been waiting for. That to see how you reacted.
Yeah.
How did you feel when he?
I remember saying, I've never felt so many feelings at the same time in my life. Because I was embarrassed, I was angry, I was upset, like, I just felt so many different emotions.
And do you know what's madder? Being on a show myself, and I've had instances where we'd done tasks and I felt awful.
Yeah.
But we have a time, to think about it. Yours is kind of live almost, in it?
Which is funny because I got criticised, probably not massive. I think I got criticised quite a bit for how I reacted.
But it was real?
Yeah, which is kind of the concept, and that's why you watched it, because you wanted to see how I was going to react. So I'm sorry that I didn't...
No, but I'd rather watch someone who has a real reaction than someone who's like, oh my God, fine. Because you'd be deep down thinking that's a lie.
Yeah, you don't feel like that.
Yeah.
So I was very honest about how I felt about the situation. But I remember people were saying I overreacted and
I don't feel that you did.
I was like, well... You don't know how it feels,
what I was more thinking was that the mental health side of it.
Yeah.
Because I watched that thinking this poor guy could be seriously affected by this. Like, it would take a strong person to get away from that and laugh eventually.
I think it flashed in my mind the embarrassing element of it. And to be fair, I'd be lying if I said that embarrassment wasn't one of the most overriding feelings in amongst all the cocktail of other feelings I was feeling at that exact moment. But after that point, the production team, like, they're absolutely amazing. You get a lot of support, and ultimately, I'm conscious of the fact that it is still a show. And I was very, very sympathetic to the fact that they've got to produce an interesting show.
Yeah.
Like, despite the fact that I felt at that moment like I was the butt of the joke. I was like, okay, if you flip this and look at it from the point of view from the actual team who make the show, like, it's not crazy interesting concept. It's just a bunch of people in a house chatting to people on MSN. It's not that...
Yeah.
And they've got to try and make that interesting. And they've got a great storyline with me, and they're they've got to try and push that as far as they can.
It's entertainment.
Yeah. So I was like, well, it happened to be me this time, which didn't feel that great. But overall, it didn't really. I was really angry. I went to my room and I didn't talk to anyone for like a good couple hours. I
could agree with that. I would have probably wanted to knock Alex out.
But the production team are absolutely amazing. Honestly, the nicest people
I think as well, when you actually look at it properly, so if we look at your show next to my show, it could be damaging. So I was worried when I first went on the show they could make me look, it could destroy my business acumen and my career almost by making me look stupid. Whereas for you, it wasn't, anybody could relate to it because anyone could have been in your position and done the same thing. So it wasn't like they were making you look like an idiot where it's ruined your life and your career.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas I feel
but I didn't have that.
No.
Because I hadn't seen it. So from my perspective, I remember in that split moment, I was thinking, I'm so stupid. I remember I was thinking, I am so dumb. I thought I was just having a laugh and being on a fun show. Little did I know,
everyone were laughing at you.
They were laughing at me. I'm the flipping joke.
Do you know what though? It was like a little historic moment for the show.
Yeah, 100%. They absolutely smashed that. That was like, I can even see from my perspective that it couldn't have played better.
No, and it's so interesting because when I think back to it now, like, I remember watching it and I've never really felt the way I felt like when watching a show like that, because it just made you have these weird like, oh my God, like it was crazy. It was a really, really good show. So you obviously had all of your catfish drama in the show. Has that changed how you use social media? Or since coming out, have you been catfished since?
Have I been catfished? Yeah, I think people have tried to catfish me, but I ain't got time to respond to most people. Like, do you know what I mean? So
because I just feel like you get, when you come out of a show, especially when you first come out and your social media blows and everyone's messaging you every second of the day. Yeah. I am not single, so I am not interested in talking to people. But I guess being single and knowing from my other candidates that they're like, it's a minefield because everybody wants to text you and message you and you don't know who's real, who's not. Yeah, but I guess you had your caution from the show.
Yeah. I remember actually when I met Alex, I remember in the meet, I said, I am deleting all social media after this. I think those are my exact words. I obviously didn't because I'm still there. But I think I enjoy it, not from the position of the attention so much, because I feel like that personally, it genuinely is a little bit overwhelming at times. Yeah. But I like the opportunities. Absolutely, like perfect example is here. Like I love doing this kind of stuff and meeting people who've been on other shows and chatting about stuff. Like I love doing stuff like this, and I love all the opportunities and the parties and the events and this, that, and the other. And I realise that's kind of the rough with the smooth because I can't take all of the cool stuff that you get to do without unfortunately having the following in itself, which is kind of
that's kind of true. Yeah. So what was really interesting for me with the show, and I watched this with my partner, and he's black guy, I'm obviously mixed race, and we watched Alex walking in as Alex, and you having the look on your face like you wanted to knock this guy out. It's Black History Month. Yeah. We've got Mental Health Awareness Day just been. Yeah. Both those things kind of tie into that moment because you're a black guy, you've got this crazy sense of someone who you've been kind of flirting with has turned out to be a little skinny guy. How did that feel? How did you want to react but couldn't?
Do you know what's funny actually? Because I've noticed the way you framed that question is that you looked like you wanted to knock him out. Someone tweeted me that last week, exact words, you looked like you wanted to knock him out. And I struggle with that because I didn't actually. You're pertaining to know exactly what I am going to do with my facial expressions.
You just looked mad.
I looked angry. I'd much rather that because I don't like the idea that I look like I'm about to be violent. I just doesn't sit well with me because I wouldn't see myself as a violent person ever, despite the fact that I feel like most people perceive me to have a tendency to be violent, even though I've never been violent.
Do you think that could be because you're 6 foot? Oh
yeah, I'm aware of it. Yeah, I'm 6 foot, I'm black, I'm not skinny, and maybe for some people I might be slightly intimidating. So for that reason, they may assume that if I look angry, I'm going to go to violence. Whereas you could look equally as angry, but
oh no, you
get it as well?
I not get it, but when I went in The Apprentice, my first point was I do not want to be that angry black girl. I thought this every season that is like a stereotype.
And that's what I feel like I'm always trying to avoid. So that angry black guy thing, I'm like, I don't even have to really be that angry to be angry. I'm angry black when I want to get there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm really conscious of that. But yeah, so it's just to reframe the question. But in terms of like mental health and how I felt in that moment, I was in the real world, what I would have done is not responded whatsoever, because you're right, I was genuinely angry.
Yeah.
I would have stood up and I'd have left. There wouldn't have been any conversation. I just wouldn't have said anything. I would have just left. Yeah. But it's a show, you can't leave. So you have to contain that and kind of try and mold it into a palatable response while still like...
whilst knowing that everybody's watching and listening.
And I was like, yeah, it was funny, absolutely really, really funny to look back on. But I genuinely, when I watched that back, I put this on my Instagram, I cried when I watched that. I didn't cry throughout the whole process, not once. And then I watched the show back, and when I saw myself angry, I don't know why, but
because you was upset with how you reacted?
Yeah, I was really, really genuinely upset.
Really?
And also, one thing that's really strange is no one ever really sees themselves angry.
Yeah.
Ever. Because if you're having an argument with your partner and they're really like, you're really going at it, to like really getting at each other, no one's pulling their phone out and going and recording it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you never see yourself.
But I personally think, and I'm not just saying it, but I don't think your reaction was bad. I think it could have been a lot worse. I mean, I guess you think of how you would react in that situation, and I'm a very calm person. I don't really get annoyed, and with The Apprentice, I very much kept that persona. Yeah. But there still are situations where I would want to scream and shout and not be made to look stupid. And I think putting anyone in that situation, no one could comment on your reaction until they were in it
which
to see how they would
probably
be.
never would be. But I get that, and at the same time, when you put yourself on a reality TV show, you do open yourself up to that kind of criticism. That is what's going to happen. People are going to respond to your real life lived situations. People are going to respond to them as if they lived them as well, which is...
So when that all happened afterwards, what did you do to cope with that situation? So like the day after.
Do you know what I found quite tricky, and I'll be honest, is that instantly, I didn't... You know when someone does something that's not quite nice to you?
Yeah.
Generally in life, you get a moment of time where everyone who's witnessed that bad thing happen to you gives you a second to palate how not nice you feel. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like I was credited that, actually, because as soon as it happened, it was, it's only a game, it's only a game.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It's not for you to comment on what I should feel because ABC.
Well, I feel like I can't 100% remember it, but I know you had, you met him, and then was it pretty much straight to the final, and you had like a live episode of it? And I remember you just looking really like you didn't want to be there almost.
If I had one criticism, and this is genuinely the only criticism, because I think they done an absolutely amazing job, especially dealing with how I was at the time, because I was genuinely ticked off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was too quick. I think it's obviously going to be really, really different this time around. There's 1,000 changes, but I feel like, especially because it was such a little bit of a heated kind of situation, they should have allowed us to meet again to have a conversation off camera, but they didn't allow that.
Was just straight in.
The funniest thing is we pretended. So if you watch the final back again, we pretended as if, I even think I said, oh no, we've spoken since, no, we hadn't spoken since then.
I was thinking that.
That was absolutely lie. The last time I saw him was the last time you saw me on camera.
Oh, it's really tricky.
And then they put me in a live show, and I've been in a room for the last 3 weeks, and there's an absolute crowd full of people. My brothers are in there. There's 4 people from work that have managed to swindle themselves tickets. I don't know how they got there. Like, I remember seeing them in the crowd like, bro, what are you doing here? And so I'm like in this crazy setting, like Maya Jammer's there. I'm thinking, Maya Jammer is real life. Like, and there's just so much going on.
But that's why the mental health side of it is, there's a lot going on that people don't see on the screen, and you think it's a lot to deal with, even as a strong person.
And then they're like, oh, how do you feel about Alex now? And I'm thinking, I don't know. I've not had a conversation with this guy outside of the context of you just saw me on TV. That was it. So I can't have an opinion on someone that I literally just met. It must
be tricky. So every week what we do is we go through some tweets. The tweets are about the Apprentice candidates. You've got to guess who it's about.
Okay.
No cheating, no Googling.
Okay. No peeking.
Right, so at Tuber86 said, X and X need to go. They are serious bellends.
Oh, because they said bellends, I feel like they're definitely talking about men. So there's the people who I was thinking about straight away, because I thought that was quite a strong, like, this person needs to go. And I feel like the only person who would get that kind of reaction is Lottie, because she's so loud and she's
That's
so...
one correct.
Oh, really?
One right. And I like how you're explaining how you got to it.
And who else?
To give you a clue on this, I think it's a bit harsh.
Oh, I think it may be another woman then. Oh, really? Is it Tommy?
No, it's not. I knew you were going to guess Tommy. No, it's Ryan.
Oh, him. Yes, mate. He's got to go. I don't like him. He's so irritating.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly who you mean. He's so irritating.
I love Ryan. Listen.
No, man. That guy's so...
Don't talk about Ryan that way because we'll fall out.
How do you not find him annoying?
I think he's kind of ace, to be honest.
His
him and Tom
voice,
for me.
Mate,
oh, no,
up.
I like him.
He's so annoying.
Well, okay, next tweet. So at RachelG2187 said, why is XX not doing the Brexit negotiations on the UK's behalf?
Oh my God, this must have been in regards to the wine challenge, surely, I feel.
I'm not giving you any clues.
Who was that jumped in the shop?
It begins with an L.
I don't think
Lottie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because she basically knows everything about everything, doesn't she?
She knows a lot about wine.
Right, last tweet now.
Yeah.
Last tweet, because you're not very good at this game. At Louis G18 said, X is like Boris Johnson. The difference is X is good at what he does.
Oh, that's got to be Tommy.
Yeah.
That's definitely Tommy. Because he's like a cheeky chap. I get why they said, yeah.
He doesn't look like him, though.
No, he doesn't. But like, I get that, because Boris Johnson was like a likeable character until like
he became
4 years ago.
Yeah,
until he became like Prime Minister, basically, yeah.
That's the end.
Until he got himself like a serious job, and then
until people are like,
hang on a second,
we cannot
like
take
you.
this guy. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been nice. It's been a nice chat.
It's been good.
And I wish you the best of luck with whatever you're doing next. I know you're on your influencer thing now. Doing you. Yeah. You're not an estate agent anymore.
Not for now.
Okay.
Not for now. Maybe I might revisit it, but I feel like I've got accustomed to kind of working for myself. So I think whatever I do long term, I think will probably be in that vein to a degree. Yeah. So we'll see.
That's cool. Thank you for tuning in this morning, everyone. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Make sure that you like, subscribe and share, and don't forget to turn on your notifications for next week's episode.